Hello all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. The extreme heat and drought in Europe and Asia this summer are quite rare. Undoubtedly, this weather will affect our lives though, especially with specialty foods. Canada's Xingdao Daily is officially out of print. Originally, Xingdao Daily was a pro-democracy independent media outlet. It was then bought by the Chinese Communist Party, and then it declined in operation, eventually closing its doors. In the face of continuous harassment by the Chinese Communist Party, Taiwan finally fired live rounds in return. This is the appropriate way to deal with the evil. A Japanese businessman who has passed away created a business miracle that has left an inspiration for people today. Okay, let's get into it. With the severe drought and heat in Europe, Belgian potatoes, Romanian corn, French butter, Spanish beef, and Italian tomatoes, the continent's signature foods, will be less available in next year's market. Their yields were much lower this season due to the year's scorching summer ordeal. What's more worrying for European farmers is that the climate may become drier in the future and they may have to change the practices that they have employed for decades. The European Drought Observatory said in its latest report that much of Europe is now facing severe drought hazards, with 47% of the EU land at a warning level and 17% at a more severe alert level. That means yields of major crops such as sunflowers, cereals, and sugar will be well below normal levels. Belgian farmers said that their potatoes and beans and other crops were sunburned. In the world's leading food exporters, France and Romania, farmers are expected to have crop yield losses of up to 14 and 35%. Livestock farmers in Spain and France said that the production of milk, butter, and cream has been affected by the lack of rain. The Po River in northern Italy is so low that the seawater is beginning to seep in, further drying up already drought-stricken fields. The drought has already devastated the rice fields and vast cornfields there. Governments have taken steps to mitigate farmers' losses this year. Italy declared a state of emergency in July, including water rationing, and Hungary is providing funds to cover rising irrigation and animal feed costs. Summer is the rainy season in Pakistan, and floods are a regular occurrence. However, this year's floods are different from previous years. Locals say that the rainfall these days is unlike anything they have ever seen before. One local official called it a biblical deluge. Since June, heavy rains from the rainy season have caused flash floods in most areas, killing more than 1,000 people, injuring thousands, and displacing more than 33 million people. Just this past weekend, devastating floods erupted in Pakistan, killing 119 people, as riverbeds and bridges were washed away and homes and fields were flooded. Many roads were impassable and power outages were everywhere. In many areas, even external roads have been disrupted, making it difficult for relief workers to reach the affected areas to evacuate the victims. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who visited the affected area, said the severity of the disaster is greater than expected. The amount of rainfall was nearly 8 times the average rainfall in August. Near Larkana City, thousands of mud huts were submerged underwater, with only the top of the trees being visible from a distance. Where the water receded slightly, thatched roofs emerged from the water. Climate Change Minister Sherry Rahman told the news media that when the rain started to subside, they are likely to have a quarter or a third of Pakistan underwater. The floods could not have come at a worse time for Pakistan, whose economy is in a free fall and whose former Prime Minister Imran Khan was ousted in a non-confidence vote in Parliament in April. More than 1,100 scientists and professionals from around the world have signed a World Climate Declaration stating that there's no climate emergency. But since the things that I'm going to talk about might be too sensitive for YouTube, please watch the full version of this episode on our membership site. I left the link in the description below. Tensions between the Chinese Communist Party and Taiwan are rising. On Tuesday, August 30th, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen ordered that the Taiwanese military could take strong countermeasures against successive provocations by the CCP. On the same day, Taiwan's military fired a live round at a Chinese drone. The CCP, the political party known as the Chinese Communist Party, has never ruled Taiwan, but the CCP claims to have sovereignty over the democratic Taiwan. Taiwan strongly opposes this. After House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan in early August, the CCP has held large-scale military exercises around Taiwan for several days, and Chinese drones have repeatedly frequented the skies over Taiwan's Kinmen Gate, harassing them. On Tuesday, Tsai spoke during a visit to the border with the armed forces. She criticized the incessant harassment by Chinese drones and other gray area warfare activities by the Communist Party. She has ordered the Ministry of National Defense to take necessary and strong countermeasures to defend Taiwan's airspace in due course. On August 16th, a drone video of Kinmen guards appeared on China's social media showing Taiwanese sentries throwing rocks at the drone to expel it. On August 29th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Linjin said it was not a big deal that a Chinese drone was flying over Chinese territory. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs then sternly refuted this, saying that the Chinese Communist Party was uninvited, so it was a thief. On Tuesday, Taiwan's defense minister warned the Chinese Communist Party, "Don't make a fuss when I set off firecrackers to scare away some sparrows." The Chinese language newspaper Xingdao Daily ceased publication in Canada on August 28th, ending its 44-year run in the country. The Xingdao Daily originated in Hong Kong and was distributed in Calgary, Toronto, and Vancouver in Canada. In addition to Xingdao Daily, Xingdao also published weekly and free weekly newspapers in these three major cities. One of the reasons for the closure of Xingdao Daily was the ongoing epidemic blockade and the sharp decline in readership. Some analysts say that Xingdao's pro-communist line was the main reason for its loss of readers and its eventual end. During the June 4th, 1989 China Democratic Movement, Xingdao Daily was active in supporting democratic demands. At that time, it gained a large number of readers. Later, Xingdao Daily gradually shifted to a pro-communist stance. In 2020, Xingdao's owner ran a full-page op-ed in Toronto and New York. It blatantly supported the Chinese Communist Party's use of the national security law to suppress democracy in Hong Kong. Hong Kong hedge fund manager Chen Chi-kin once told the Epoch Times that Xingdao failed to remain impartial during the 2019 Hong Kong's democratic protest, and it caved in to the CCP, thus losing readers. This is one of the reasons why it is not operating anymore. The BBC reported that Xingdao's parent company is not directly owned by a Chinese government agency or the CCP, but in recent years it has been discovered that it had Beijing's influence behind it. In 2021, at the request of the U.S. government, the U.S. edition of Xingdao Daily was registered as a foreign agent in the United States. Public documents show that the U.S. Department of Justice determined that the newspaper's U.S. operations meet the definition of efforts to exert foreign influence. The newspaper was designated as a foreign agent. It was required to report its assets and finances to the U.S. government annually. Its reporters were no longer allowed to visit important state institutions such as the U.S. Congress and the White House. Recently, official Chinese media outlets in the U.S., such as Xinhua News Agency, People's Daily, CCTV, and the English-language China Daily, have all been designated as foreign agents by the U.S. government. In an interview with Epoch Times, former editor-in-chief of the Vancouver edition of Xingdao Daily, said that he had warned his fellow Xingdao colleagues that it was a price that they were going to have to pay if they turned Xingdao Daily into a propaganda mouthpiece, losing its value as an independent media outlet and losing its credibility. Japan's Kyocera Corporation announced on Tuesday, August 30th, that Kazuno Inamori, the famous Japanese industrialist and founder of Kyocera, died at his home in Tokyo on the 24th. He was 90 years old. He was a legendary figure in the business world. He founded Kyoto Ceramics in 1959 when he was 27 years old. The company succeeded in developing fine ceramics and new materials that are still used today in semiconductors and smartphone components. Kyocera's business performance then grew rapidly, becoming a global company, producing electronic components, telecommunication equipment, and solar panels, among other things. In 1994, under the leadership of Inamori, Kyocera established DDI, Second Telecom, the predecessor to KDDI, which is now Japan's second largest telecommunication company, as a joint venture with Mitsubishi Corporation, Sony, Seacom, and other major companies. In his 51-year career in business management, Kazuno Inamori single-handedly created two Fortune 500 companies, Kyocera and KDDI. He donated all of his personal shares to his employees and converted to Buddhism himself at the age of 64. In 2010, Japan Airlines filed for bankruptcy protection in the Tokyo District Court. In February of the same year, at the invitation of the Japanese government, Kazuno, who was 78 years old, became chairman of Japan Airlines, and he set out to rebuild the company. In just 18 months, Japan Airlines turned a loss into a profit, generating an unprecedented for the company profit of 188.4 billion yen. Just 2 years and 8 months after the bankruptcy, Japan Airlines returned to the Tokyo Stock Exchange. He also actively supported the development of science and technology and culture. In 1984, he established the Inamori Foundation with his own funds, and he served as its chairman and created the Tokyo Prize, an international award that has led to the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded to a number of its recipients. He also established a school which has produced many outstanding businessmen. He is also influenced in politics, supporting the Democratic Party in the 2009 election and playing a role in the regime change in Japan. He was appointed as a special advisor to the Cabinet Office. Inamori's business philosophy of valuing morality and character is especially valuable in the current era of moral decay and the ideology of doing whatever it takes to achieve one's goals. And before we go, as posted on our social medias, we have another show today on Front Page at our regular time on YouTube, covering the latest news about President Trump and the DOJ and about the mega drought that is threatening America. So please join us for that episode as well. I look forward to seeing you all in the live chat later. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.